Good morning, my dear students. The next topic in Module 2, that is Middle English period, is the contribution of major writers. Now we are going to discuss the contribution of Geoffrey Chaucer. Geoffrey Chaucer, he is Geoffrey Chaucer is the father of English poetry, you all know. He has made many significant contribution to the development of English language. His major contribution is the revival of English language from its decline during the Middle English period. That is the decay of its status after the Norman conquest. While studying Norman conquest, we have studied all these things, the decline of English and the significance given to French language after Norman conquest, because French was the language of Normans, and after Norman conquest, French came to power, and their language, French, was given over much significance, and because of that, English lost its status. So, one of the major contribution of Geoffrey Chaucer is the revival of English language from its decline during the Middle English period. That is, from the overmuch importance given to French after the Norman conquest. So, he employed the East Midland dialect. How he revived English language. We have already discussed the different dialects of Middle English, and the dialect Chaucer employed in his work is Middle English or East Midland, not Middle English, East Midland dialect, and he gave East Midland dialect a literary significance. He was a court poet. And one of the greatest poet of his day, that you all know. You are all familiar with Geoffrey Chaucer. He's famous for his work, the Canterbury Tales. Right. So, you have already studied all these things, right? The career of Chaucer is divided into three main periods: the French, the Italian, and the English. And there are so many works written during each period. And towards the last section, that is the English period, which is known as the English period. And during this period, the English period of his career, he wrote the Canterbury Tales, that you know, right? So, the dialect Chaucer employed in his work was East Midland dialect, and he gave the language, the East Midland dialect, a literary dignity. And because of Chaucer's use of East Midland dialect, it might he has naturally given this language an impetus. So, Geoffrey Chaucer, about Geoffrey Chaucer, the father of English poetry. His major contribution is the revival of English language from its declined status after Norman conquest, and he wrote in East Midland dialect, and it gave the language some impetus. Okay. Now, his use of East Midland dialect. Chaucer's use of East Midland dialect. Chaucer's language is the late Middle English or the East Midland type. Because French being the language of the after Norman conquest, French being the language of the ruling class over there, East Midland, it's replete with large elements of French. Because of the influence of French, East Midland dialect has large elements or large French word, large number of French words were there in East Midland dialect. As a matter of fact, the opening line of Chaucer's prologue to Canterbury Tales reveal a strong influence of French. There were so many French words were there in the prologue to Canterbury Tales. These loan words, that is the French words, also give us an idea of the diverse field from which they are borrowed. That means the Canterbury Tales, there are so many French words are there, even though Chaucer wrote in East Midland dialect, the influence of French are still there. Further, another interesting feature of Chaucer's language is the grammar. That is, he shares similarity, his language shares similarity with modern English. How? Chaucer, he employed a language, and his language, he with the leveling of the language which he used, shares similarity with modern English, that is with the leveling of inflectional system and the importance given to word order. You already know that the simplification of inflectional system happened during this period. There has been a leveling and regularization of English language, right? This is one of the interesting feature of Chaucer's language. His language share similarity with modern English, because modern English by the time it lost all the inflections, and syntax or word order was given importance in modern English, right? This similarity was there in Chaucer's time also, because Middle English period there are the leveled inflections are there. Okay. Next, the features or characteristics of his language. We have already told that his language share many of the characteristic features of modern English. What are the characteristics? What are the features? These characteristics include his frequent use of es plural ending. For plural ending, he used es. That is there in our modern English, right? S or es is added to the noun to have a plural of a word. Then another one is genitive s. That is, in order to show possession, we use apostrophe s, right? His, her, we use yes. That was also there during Chaucer's English, Chaucer's Middle English. That then er and est, that we used for comparison of adjectives. It's also there, er and est, er and est for comparison of adjectives. Then the pronouns. Then about pronouns. His pronouns are mostly like modern English, and he used 3 different form for infinitive. For the infinitive form of the verb, example, seek, our word to seek, seeken, to seeken, and to seek. There are 3 different form of infinitive was used. Then the definite article in Chaucer's time is the definite article. Then about adjectives, the adjectives show considerable simplification, that is with the loss of inflection, simplification of language. The elaborate Old English inflectional system has been dropped, and the adjective is nearer to modern English with this loss of this leveling of inflectional system. Even though there are leveling of inflection is there, still there are inflections, so there are traces of Old English declensions present in Middle English, but most of the inflectional system got declined during Middle English, so it bears a resemblance with modern English. Then regular suffix for comparison of adjectives like er and est, as in modern English, is used by Chaucer. Er and est, er for comparative degree and est for superlative degree is there in modern English, right? This is also there. This was also there in Chaucer's language. So I shall repeat. Chaucer used Chaucer's language. It has es plural ending. Es is used for plurals. Then genitive for genitive in order to show possession s is used. Then er and est for comparison of adjectives. Then three different forms for the infinitive was also there. Then in the the article the was also there. And simplification of inflectional system. Because of the simplification of inflectional system, it bear resemblance with modern English, even though there are traces of declensions or inflectional system was there. Most of the inflections were leveled, and because of that it share similarity with modern English. And the last one is the usage of er and est to show comparison of adjectives. That is er for comparative degree and est for superlative degree. It's the same as that of modern English. Okay. Then pronouns. Then about pronouns. Pronouns are mostly like those in modern English. The Chaucer's use of pronouns are also like that of modern English. We have in Chaucer I, mine, me, he, his, him and they. These are all pronouns which we use in modern English. Even though there are the spelling is not same, the same pronouns are used by Chaucer, but the genitive and dative cases are still here and him. Chaucer used pronouns which we have in our modern English language, like I, mine, me, he, his, him and they. Then verbs resemble most of modern English verb. We have told that pronouns are mostly like modern English. Then about verbs. Verbs resemble those of modern English. The infinitive ending an has been weakened to en. The infinitive ending, the ending an was there during modern English. Most of the word has the suffix an. By the time of Chaucer, this an, the suffix an, got weakened and it became an becomes n. So the stress or the an, the suffix itself got weakened. And in fact Chaucer shows three different forms for the infinitive of verb. For example, seeken, I have already told you, seeken, to seeken, to seek. To for the modern English word to tell, he has three different form of infinitive verb. To tellen, to tell, tellen. In earlier that is a Old English period, instead of this tellen an was used, and in Middle English period this an that was used during Old English period got weakened and it became en, tellen, tellen. Okay, that was that's about verbs. Then the third person present singular in Chaucer is eth, or is the suffix eth or ith. As a matter of fact, we only notice three es endings in the whole of Chaucer to denote third person present singular. Third person present singular, which has become the normal form in modern English. The third person singular in Chaucer is eth or ith. And to conclude, these are the major characteristics of the East Midland dialect used by Chaucer, and the major contribution of Chaucer to English language. The most significant contribution of Chaucer to English language is a revival of English language from its degraded status after Norman conquest. He used East Midland dialect in his work. and this is how he revived the English language, and these are the major characteristics that we have discussed about East Midland dialect. Chaucer's use of East Midland dialect, his contribution to English language, and the resemblance of his language, his East Midland dialect or Middle English, to modern English. Okay, just to conclude, the form that we have in Chaucer is now archaic. Archaic means old fashioned word, or it's out of usage. Uh, and Chaucer's language is somehow archaic now, and we find it in poetic or religious usage now. The Now it's having a poetic or religious usage. The es form took considerable time to spread from northern dialect to southern. The es form that we have just mentioned earlier, the es form, uh, the es form took considerable time to spread from northern dialect to southern. The usage of es was there in northern dialect, and gradually it became part of the southern dialect also. Then Chaucer's language is important as it marked the transition from Middle English to modern English and the beginning of the simplification of English grammar. His language is important because his language show a transition from Middle English to modern English. Chaucer's time language, because this East Midland dialect, it shares many characteristics of the English which we use now, that is modern English, and it is the beginning. His language, it's a beginning. The language which Chaucer used, it's a beginning of the simplification of English grammar also. Okay, that's all about Chaucer's contribution to English. Okay, thank you.